The year is 1885. The American West, though tamed in some parts, still holds vast, untamed stretches where legends bleed into reality. One such place is the Obsidian Trail, a jagged, treacherous mountain pass known for its razor-sharp black volcanic rock and its chilling history. It's here that the legend of the Ghost Riders was born, spectral cowboys who appear on moonless nights, their horses' hooves silent, their forms shimmering like heat haze, always leading those who see them deeper into the mountains, never to return. Our story follows Clara Bellwether, a sharp-witted and pragmatic geological surveyor from Boston. Clara isn't seeking gold or glory. She's on a desperate quest to find her older brother Elias, a cartographer who vanished 6 months ago while mapping a newly discovered volatile vein of obsidian in the Black Peaks, rumored to possess unusual, almost magnetic properties. Elias's last known camp was at the foot of the Obsidian Trail, where his abandoned equipment, including a half-finished map, was found. Clara arrives in Shadow Creek, a grim, isolated outpost clinging to the edge of the mountains. The town is populated by hardened prospectors, cynical traders, and a few weary homesteaders who view outsiders with deep suspicion. The local guide she tries to hire, a grizzled old prospector named Silas Old Flint McCoy, refuses point-blank when he hears her destination. The Obsidian Trail? That's the devil's own path, ma'am. The Ghost Riders claim what they want. Your brother, he's gone. Don't go chasing phantoms. The legend of the Ghost Riders speaks of a band of outlaws led by Caleb, the Obsidian King Blackwood, who, in the 1860s, plundered a massive gold shipment and vanished into the Obsidian Trail. They were pursued by a relentless posse, and the final confrontation was said to have occurred during a freak, silent lightning storm. Neither the outlaws, their gold, nor the posse were ever seen again. Only the black, unforgiving rock remained, and the chilling tales of their spectral return. Clara, a woman of science, initially dismisses these as frontier superstitions. She reviews Elias's incomplete map, which marks a section of the trail called the Silent Divide, with strange, swirling patterns and notes about resonant frequencies and gravitational anomalies. He was clearly on the trail of something far more complex than just rock formations. She sets out alone, her pack heavy, her gaze fixed on the foreboding peaks. The Obsidian Trail is brutal, the sharp rock tearing at her boots, the air thin and cold even in summer. The silence is profound, almost oppressive, broken only by the whistling wind. Yet, sometimes, when the wind dies down to an unnatural stillness, she hears it, a faint, almost imperceptible humming sound, emanating from the black rock itself, a low vibration that seems to resonate through her very bones. One moonless night, as she makes camp near Elias's last known site, the temperature plummets inexplicably. The stars, usually piercingly bright, seem to dim, as if shrouded by an unseen presence. She hears it then, faint at first, then growing steadily louder, the unmistakable rhythmic thudding of hooves, yet completely silent, without the crunch of rock or displacement of dust. It's the sound of horses, moving impossibly close, but unheard by normal ears. She scrambles to her feet, peering into the inky blackness. Through the swirling mist and the jagged shadows of the obsidian formations, she sees them, a procession of spectral riders, their forms shimmering with a faint silvery luminescence, their faces obscured by the shadows of their wide-brimmed hats. They ride in perfect formation, their ghostly horses moving with an eerie, flowing grace, passing directly through the sharp obsidian formations as if they were smoke. They are the Ghost Riders, and they are heading directly towards the Silent Divide, the very section of the trail Elias had marked. As they pass her, Clara feels an intense, bone-chilling cold that cuts deeper than the mountain air. She instinctively reaches for her compass. Its needle spins wildly, then points erratically towards the spectral figures. When the last rider vanishes into the blackness of the silent divide, the cold recedes, leaving her trembling, alone, the humming from the obsidian rock briefly intensifying. Clara is no longer just on a rescue mission. She is a witness to the impossible. The Ghost Riders were not just a legend, they were a terrifying reality, and they had just shown her the path, the very trail to nowhere, where her brother Elias had vanished. Her scientific mind is reeling, but her determination to find Elias now burns with a desperate, chilling urgency. The spectral encounter with the Ghost Riders shattered Clara Bellwether's scientific paradigms. They weren't just folklore, they were a tangible, terrifying phenomenon, and they had just led her directly to the Silent Divide, the epicenter of her brother Elias's obsession. Clara knew she had to understand what had consumed Elias to hope to find him. She returned to Shadow Creek, shaken but resolute. Old Flint McCoy, seeing the wildness in her eyes, didn't offer a mocking, "I told you so," but a grim nod. "You saw them, didn't you? The riders. They show themselves to those they want to take." Clara pressed him about the Obsidian King, Caleb Blackwood, and the gold shipment. What was so special about that gold? Why would the mountain claim them all? Old Flint shrugged. Rumor had it that gold wasn't just gold. It was a king's ransom, they called it. Not just coin, but ancient artifacts, idols from stolen tribal lands, imbued with some kind of power. Blackwood, he was arrogant, thought he could just take it all and vanish into the mountains. But the mountain, she don't like being robbed of her sacred things. Clara then turned her attention to Elias's remaining notes and the peculiar resonant frequencies he'd documented. Elias, a meticulous cartographer, had grown increasingly fascinated by the unusual properties of the obsidian itself. His later notes spoke of the rock possessing a crystalline structure that could amplify energy, particularly sound and magnetic fields. He believed the Obsidian Trail was not merely a path, but a natural resonator, a conduit for unseen forces. He was obsessed with the idea that the silent lightning storm that swallowed Blackwood and the posse wasn't just a weather phenomenon. He theorized it was a massive, energetic discharge, triggered by the collision of these amplified energies, the intense fear of the chase, and perhaps the very power of the stolen artifacts. This discharge, he believed, had somehow folded reality, trapping the riders and their pursuers in an interdimensional loop within the trail. His most disturbing notes spoke of a gateway of silence within the Silent Divide, a specific geological formation where the obsidian hummed loudest and where the veil between dimensions was thinnest. He believed this gateway was activated by extreme emotional resonance, like the terror of a chase or the malevolent intent of a criminal. He was attempting to map its precise location, to understand its activation. As Clara read, she understood Elias's terrible drive. He wasn't just mapping, he was trying to decipher a fundamental, terrifying secret of the universe, using the Obsidian Trail as his laboratory. He had gotten too close, perhaps even inadvertently activated something. One night, as Clara studied Elias's notes, she noticed a hidden compartment in his old map case. Inside, wrapped in a faded cloth, was a single intricately carved obsidian shard. It was unusually smooth, almost warm to the touch, and shimmered with a faint, internal iridescence. As she held it, she felt a subtle vibration, and a faint whisper seemed to emanate from the shard itself, a low, guttural murmur that brought an inexplicable chill to her bones. The last entry in Elias's journal, scrawled in a frantic hand, sent a cold dread through Clara. The hum, it is not just sound. It is a presence. The gateway. It opens. They are here. Not just the riders. There is something else. The silent guardian. It demands a toll. Not gold. Not blood. But truth. The truth of the Obsidian King. I see him now. He seeks companionship for eternity. And the horses, they are hungry for the unrevealed. Clara dropped the obsidian shard. The ghost riders were not just trapped souls. They were an active, intelligent force, still bound by Caleb Blackwood's secrets, still part of a spectral hunt. And Elias, in his pursuit of scientific truth, had stumbled into their eternal chase, becoming another potential companion for the Obsidian King. The humming obsidian, the gateway of silence, and the terrifying silent guardian were all part of a larger, more sinister reality that Elias had sought to understand, but ultimately had fallen prey to. Clara knew she had to venture into the silent divide, not just to find Elias, but to understand the truth of the Obsidian King that the mountains still desperately demanded. The chilling revelations in Elias's journal and the unsettling vibration of the obsidian shard propelled Clara deeper into the terrifying truth of the Obsidian Trail. The Gateway of Silence was not just a geological anomaly. It was an interdimensional portal, and Elias, driven by his scientific hunger, had sought to understand it. Clara knew she had to find this gateway and confront whatever lay beyond. Armed with Elias's map, the vibrating obsidian shard, and a new, unsettling understanding of the trail, Clara ventured into the silent divide. The name felt more ominous than ever. Here, the obsidian formations were more pronounced, rising like jagged teeth from the earth, their surfaces unnaturally smooth and reflective. The air was colder, heavier, and the pervasive humming from the black rock was now a low, resonant thrum that seemed to vibrate through her entire body. As she navigated the labyrinthine paths of the silent divide, the silence was profound, almost suffocating. No birds sang, no insects chirped, no wind stirred the dust. It was as if sound itself was being absorbed by the black rock, leaving only the relentless hum. She felt an increasing sense of disorientation, a subtle warping of her perception. Distances seemed to stretch, and the same rock formations appeared to repeat themselves, creating a disorienting, dreamlike landscape. She noticed strange visual distortions in the air, shimmering heat hazes that moved without a heat source, fleeting glimpses of a landscape that wasn't quite there, like looking through warped glass. These were the echoes of Elias's notes about folded reality. The obsidian shard in her pocket grew colder, then pulsed with a faint, silvery luminescence, guiding her. It seemed to react to specific points, leading her deeper into the most isolated sections of the silent divide. She also noticed subtle, intricate etchings on some of the rock faces, ancient, swirling symbols similar to the ones on Elias's map, but more elaborate. They seemed to hum faintly in response to the shard. Finally, she arrived at what had to be the Gateway of Silence. It wasn't a grand archway, but a natural, circular depression in the ground, formed by a ring of towering, perfectly smooth obsidian columns. In the center, the black rock was unnaturally flat, almost like a polished mirror. The humming here was deafening, a low, bone-shaking vibration that resonated through her very skull. The air shimmered violently, creating visible distortions that made the surrounding landscape ripple as if viewed through water. As Clara stood at the edge of the gateway, the obsidian shard in her pocket pulsed wildly, and the ground beneath her began to tremble rhythmically. From the very center of the gateway, the black surface began to shimmer, then shimmer more violently, and finally, a faint, swirling vortex of silvery light began to form, like liquid moonlight. This was the interdimensional portal, the tear in reality Elias had theorized. Then, she heard them. Not just the silent thudding of hooves, but the faint, mournful whinnying of horses and the jingle of spurs. From within the swirling vortex, spectral figures began to coalesce, emerging slowly, one by one. They were the Ghost Riders, more distinct and terrifying than before. Their forms were semi-transparent, shimmering with an unholy silver light, their clothes tattered, their faces gaunt and expressionless. They rode skeletal horses, their hooves leaving no imprint on the obsidian. Leading them was a figure larger than the rest, his spectral form more solid, almost tangible. He wore a wide-brimmed hat, obscuring his face, but a faint, malevolent gleam of golden light emanated from his chest. This had to be Caleb, the Obsidian King, Blackwood. His presence radiated an immense coldness and an ancient, insatiable hunger. As Blackwood's spectral horse stepped out of the vortex, his unseen eyes seemed to fix on Clara. The whispers, which had been a low murmur, intensified into a chilling chorus, speaking directly into her mind, the truth, the final secret for eternal companionship. Elias. He understood. He sought to join us. And then, Clara saw him. Riding alongside Blackwood, his form almost as solid as the Obsidian King's, was Elias Bellwether. His face was gaunt, his eyes hollow and distant, staring blankly ahead. He was still meticulously charting something on a spectral, glowing map, completely oblivious to Clara's presence. He was riding with the Ghost Riders, trapped in their eternal journey, a silent member of their spectral posse, bound by the very gateway he had sought to understand. The gateway of silence had indeed taken him, demanding a toll Clara now had to pay to bring him back. Clara watched in horror as Elias, her brother, rode alongside Caleb, the Obsidian King, Blackwood, a silent, spectral member of the Ghost Riders. The swirling vortex of silvery light in the gateway of silence pulsed ominously, drawing the ethereal procession deeper into its endless loop. The hum from the obsidian was deafening, a relentless drone that vibrated with the presence of unimaginable power. Clara knew she had to confront the Obsidian King and understand the truth that bound her brother. As the Ghost Riders began to phase back into the swirling vortex, Blackwood's spectral form turned, his obscured face seemingly fixed on Clara. A cold, guttural voice, more felt than heard, resonated directly in her mind. "The Seeker, you disturb the eternal ride. What do you offer for passage? For truth? For a soul that has found its destined path?" Clara, trembling but resolute, held up the obsidian shard. "My brother, Elias. He doesn't belong here. He was searching for knowledge, not your cursed gold or your eternal damnation." Blackwood's spectral form flickered, and a chilling, mocking laugh echoed in her mind. "Knowledge is a dangerous lure, little seeker. It led him here to me." He touched the veil. He understood the obsidian's hunger. He heard the whisper of the ancient ones. And he chose companionship. Clara realized the terrifying depth of Elias's obsession. He hadn't been simply taken. He had been seduced by the gateway's power, by the promise of ultimate scientific understanding, choosing to become an eternal scholar of the Trail's secrets, just as Caleb Blackwood had become its king. She recalled Elias's final journal entry. He seeks companionship for eternity. And the horses, they are hungry for the unrevealed. The Ghost Riders were not just trapped souls. They were an active force, still seeking to fulfill a purpose, still driven by the desires and secrets of their cursed leader. "What is the truth you seek?" Clara demanded, her voice cutting through the hum. "What is the secret that binds you and my brother here?" Blackwood's form solidified slightly, and a faint golden glow emanated more intensely from his chest. The gold. It was not enough. It was merely a key. The true treasure was a bound spirit, an ancient, vengeful entity from the sacred lands. I sought to control it to gain absolute power, but the mountains, they took their tribute, not of gold, but of the very act of concealment. The whispers from the other Ghost Riders intensified, a cacophony of agreement and lament. The lie, the deception, the burden of the hidden, it consumes us. Clara's mind reeled. The stolen gold wasn't just gold. It was a container for something far more powerful and dangerous, a bound spirit. And the price the mountain had extracted wasn't for the gold itself, but for the concealment of this spirit, for Blackwood's attempt to use it for his own nefarious purposes. The Ghost Riders were bound by this act of hiding, condemned to an eternal journey until this ultimate truth was fully revealed and the hidden spirit somehow acknowledged or appeased. Elias, in his pursuit of the Gateway's secrets, had come to understand this, and was now drawn into its eternal service. Blackwood offered a chilling bargain. Release the hidden. Reveal the truth of the bound spirit. Bring it forth from its prison. Then, the trail may offer passage, and your brother may find another path, or you may join us. Understand the true power of the Obsidian. Become one with the silent journey. He then gestured towards the shimmering vortex within the gateway. As he did, a fleeting, clearer vision appeared within the swirling light, not of a horse or a rider, but of a single, intricate, obsidian-carved chest, pulsating faintly with a dark, confined energy. It was buried deep within the core of the Obsidian Trail, near the singing rock Elias had mentioned. This was the prison, the true cargo, the bound spirit. The Ghost Riders began to recede, phasing back into the swirling vortex, Elias among them, his face still blank. Blackwood's spectral form lingered for a moment, his unseen eyes boring into Clara. The choice is yours, Seeker. Embrace the truth, or join the ride. With a final chilling hum from the Obsidian, he too vanished, leaving Clara alone at the edge of the pulsating gateway of silence. Clara clutched the Obsidian shard, its coldness a stark reminder of the terrifying bargain she had just been offered. To save Elias, she had to delve into the very heart of the Obsidian Trail, find the ancient, hidden chest, and release the bound spirit within. She was no longer just seeking her brother. She was on a desperate quest to uncover a forgotten act of spiritual theft and to finally pay the true, chilling toll demanded by the Obsidian Trail and its eternally riding spectral king. The chilling bargain with Caleb, the Obsidian King, Blackwood weighed heavily on Clara. To save Elias, she had to find the obsidian-carved chest and release the bound spirit, a task far more complex and dangerous than any geological survey. The obsidian shard, now her only true guide, became the key to unlocking the secrets buried within the trail's haunted past. Clara returned from the gateway of silence, her mind reeling but resolute. She knew she couldn't rely on brute force. She needed to understand the mechanics of Blackwood's ancient curse and the nature of the bound spirit. She sought out old Flint McCoy again, not just for his frontier wisdom, but for any indigenous lore he might have heard. Flint, listening to Clara's account of the spectral chest and the bound spirit, grew visibly agitated. A bound spirit? In the Obsidian Trail? Only the oldest tribes spoke of such a thing. They called it the Stone Heart, an elemental spirit, a guardian of the mountains, angered when its domain was violated or its essence captured. He explained that the indigenous people believed the Obsidian Trail was sacred due to its unique geological properties, capable of holding and amplifying spiritual energy. The silent lightning storm that consumed Blackwood's gang was not a natural phenomenon, but a manifestation of the Stone Heart's wrath, provoked by the attempt to imprison it within the obsidian chest and steal it from its rightful domain. Blackwood, he wasn't just a bandit, Flint mused. He was a fool. He thought he could steal a spirit like gold. The mountain claimed them all, not for the gold, but for the sacred spirit. And the riders, they're bound to him, to the lie of the theft, until that spirit is free. Clara then explained the obsidian shard, and how it had guided her to the gateway. Flint's eyes widened. That shard, it's a piece of the Stone Heart itself, a fragment of its essence, broken off during the binding. It seeks to return to its source. It's the key to finding the chest, and perhaps freeing the spirit. The obsidian shard pulsed faintly in Clara's hand, confirming Flint's words. It was a fragment of the very entity Blackwood had tried to steal, and now it was guiding her to its prison. Clara studied Elias's earlier notes again, searching for any clues about the Singing Rock and its location, which Blackwood had indicated was near the chest. Elias had noted that the specific geological formation amplified certain low-frequency vibrations. If the chest was indeed buried there, the shard would surely react. She returned to the Obsidian Trail, the hum of the black rock once again filling the air, but now she heard it differently. Not as a menacing drone, but as a faint, longing resonance, a deep, silent plea from the bound spirit within the earth. The obsidian shard glowed more intensely as she ventured into a particularly desolate and treacherous section of the trail, one that Elias had marked on his map as Anomaly Zone Beta. Here, the obsidian formations were exceptionally jagged, and the air was thick with an unearthly stillness. The shard began to vibrate violently, almost humming in her hand, pulling her towards a massive, towering obsidian outcropping. This was the Singing Rock Elias had described, its surface smooth, almost polished, with a faint low vibration emanating from its core. The obsidian shard, resonating with the rock, felt like it was trying to leap from her grasp. As she touched the shard to the surface of the Singing Rock, a sudden blinding flash of silvery white light erupted from the contact point, accompanied by a deafening resonant thrum that shook the very ground. The air crackled with raw energy, and the ghostly whinnying of horses echoed from unseen depths. Then, the solid obsidian rock before her began to shimmer, becoming translucent. Through the shimmering surface, Clara saw it. A dimly glowing, intricate obsidian-carved chest, partially embedded within the rock, pulsing faintly with a dark, contained energy. This was the prison, the true cargo, the source of the Obsidian King's eternal curse. But the light from the rock was not merely revealing the chest, it was also showing something else. Etched into the surface of the chest were the same ancient Ute glyphs Flint had mentioned, symbols of containment and powerful binding magic. And around the chest, Clara saw faint, almost transparent spectral hands, reaching out, their forms tormented and distorted, as if they were part of the very binding itself. These were the lingering spirits of the long-dead Ute shamans, whose magic had been perverted by Blackwood to imprison the stone heart, and who were now themselves bound to the curse, desperately seeking release. Clara knew she had found the prison, but the true challenge lay ahead. To release the bound spirit, she would have to break not just Blackwood's curse, but the ancient, dark magic of the stolen Ute binding. The shard, a fragment of the stone heart itself, was the key, but its use could either free the spirit or unleash its uncontrolled wrath upon the Obsidian Trail, bringing eternal damnation to Elias and herself. The glowing obsidian shard in Clara's hand pulsed with urgency, illuminating the intricately carved obsidian chest embedded within the singing rock. The spectral hands reaching from its surface confirmed her chilling realization. The bound spirit was held not just by Blackwood's curse, but by the perverted magic of ancient Ute binding glyphs. To free Elias, Clara had to break this ancient seal, and the shard was her only hope. Clara remembered old Flint's words about the Ute tribes and their reverence for the stone heart. She knew she couldn't simply destroy the chest. That might unleash the spirit's uncontrolled fury. She needed to understand the glyphs, to reverse the ancient binding magic. She returned to Shadow Creek, carrying the vibrating obsidian shard. She showed it and her sketches of the chest's glyphs to old Flint McCoy. Flint, seeing the terror and determination in her eyes, nodded grimly. "These glyphs," he rasped, tracing the patterns, "they are ancient Ute sealing marks, used to contain powerful entities, spirits too dangerous to roam free. Blackwood. He must have found a way to corrupt them, to turn their power to his own wicked will." Flint explained that the Ute believed that a true spiritual release required not just physical action, but a spiritual appeasement and a restoration of balance. The binding was a violation of the natural order. To break it, one needed a counter-ritual, a song of release, passed down through generations of Ute shamans, now mostly lost. It involved a specific sequence of actions, coupled with the resonance of the obsidian itself, and a pure intention. The shaman who made these original glyphs, Flint continued, his spirit is likely bound there too, suffering because his sacred magic was twisted. You saw those spectral hands, didn't you? They are the lament of the shamans, trapped with the very spirit they tried to protect. The obsidian shard pulsed fiercely, confirming Flint's words. It wasn't just a key, it was a connection to the bound spirit, and to the tormented shamanic guardians. Flint confessed that he only knew fragments of the Song of Release, a series of rhythmic clicks, guttural hums, and specific hand gestures, often performed with a sacred ceremonial rattle made from a dried gourd filled with obsidian pebbles. The rattle was believed to amplify the shaman's intent and resonate with the mountain's core. My grandmother, she knew some. She said it was used to calm a raging spirit, to guide it back to its rightful place in the earth. Clara realized the terrifying precision required. A single wrong move could unleash chaos. She meticulously copied the known fragments of the song and gestures, practicing them with Flint in the quiet solitude of his cabin. The obsidian shard vibrated in her hand as she practiced, seeming to guide her, its hum occasionally deepening in response to the correct intonations. As they practiced, a sudden, chilling phenomenon occurred. The air in the cabin grew thick, and from the obsidian shard, a faint, almost melodic humming began to emanate, accompanied by spectral whispers that were no longer menacing, but mournful, almost grateful. The path, the release, the burden shared. This was the voice of the bound spirit itself, reacting to the possibility of freedom. But as the bound spirit's presence grew stronger, so did the malevolent backlash. From the Obsidian Trail, a distant, furious whinnying of horses cut through the night, followed by the silent, rhythmic thudding of spectral hooves, growing rapidly louder. Caleb, the Obsidian King, Blackwood, and his ghost riders were returning, sensing the threat to their eternal secret. Flint's face paled. "They're coming, ma'am. They won't let you break the binding. Not after all these years." Clara clutched the obsidian shard and the notes for the Song of Release. The ghost riders were now a tangible, approaching menace, their presence radiating an intense cold that seeped into her bones. She had to return to the Singing Rock, to the hidden chest, and perform the ritual of unbinding. The fate of Elias, the bound spirit, and perhaps even the balance of the Obsidian Trail itself, rested on her ability to master the ancient Song of Release and finally break the curse of the Obsidian King. The ultimate confrontation with the Ghost Riders was imminent, and this time, Clara would be ready to face them, armed not with science, but with the ancient magic of the mountains. The silent thudding of spectral hooves grew deafening as Clara, armed with the obsidian shard and the Song of Release, raced towards the Singing Rock and the hidden obsidian chest. Caleb, the Obsidian King, Blackwood, and his ghost riders were a palpable presence, their cold fury radiating ahead of them, threatening to overwhelm her. This was the final confrontation, the moment to break the ancient binding and release her brother. She reached the Singing Rock, its shimmering surface revealing the outline of the obsidian chest within. The spectral hands reaching from its surface were now more distinct, their forms twitching with desperate anticipation. The humming from the rock was intense, a vibrant symphony of contained power. Clara didn't hesitate. She placed the obsidian shard directly onto the chest's shimmering surface. The shard immediately began to pulse with a brilliant, silvery light, mirroring the glow of the bound spirit within. A profound, resonant thrum emanated from the combined obsidian, vibrating through the air. Just then, the Ghost Riders burst through the veil of reality. They appeared not as hazy apparitions, but as terrifyingly solid, albeit translucent, figures. Caleb Blackwood, his form radiating a malevolent golden light, rode at their head, his unseen eyes fixed on Clara and the chest. "You dare defy the eternal pact." Blackwood's voice boomed in Clara's mind, a guttural roar that shook the very ground. "The truth is mine. The spirit is ours. Elias is bound. You will join the ride." The Ghost Riders surged forward, their spectral horses kicking up phantom dust, their unseen weapons shimmering. Clara felt an intense cold, a crushing despair threatening to overwhelm her, but she held firm. She focused on the obsidian shard, on Elias's face in her mind, and on the fragmented Song of Release. With a deep breath, she began to perform the ritual. She started with the rhythmic clicks and guttural hums Flint had taught her, her voice resonating with the obsidian. As she chanted, she moved her hands in the precise, intricate gestures, pushing against the unseen forces that sought to stop her. The combined sound of her voice and the resonating obsidian caused the spectral riders to falter. Their forms flickered, and their malevolent aura seemed to shrink back. The spectral hands reaching from the chest pulsed frantically, as if in agony, but also with a glimmer of hope. Blackwood roared in frustration, spurring his spectral horse forward. He raised a glowing, ethereal lasso, attempting to ensnare Clara, to drag her into his eternal ride. But as the lasso shimmered towards her, the obsidian shard on the chest pulsed violently, emitting a focused beam of silvery light that severed the spectral rope. Clara moved to the next phase of the ritual, reaching for the sacred ceremonial rattle Flint had given her. She shook it, and the obsidian pebbles inside rattled with a sharp, clear sound, amplifying her intent. As the rattle joined her chant, the humming from the singing rock intensified, vibrating with an ancient power. The Ute glyphs on the chest began to glow, responding to the pure, uncorrupted resonance. The spectral hands reaching from the chest, once symbols of torment, now began to glow with a gentle, soothing light. They reached towards the glyphs, almost as if tracing them, adding their own ancient energy to the ritual of release. These were the shamanic guardians, finally able to complete their true purpose. Blackwood, realizing he was losing, let out a final furious shriek. His spectral form began to dissolve, breaking apart into shimmering motes of dark light. The other Ghost Riders, their connection to him severed, fragmented and vanished entirely, their silent hooves finally ceasing their unending thud. The gateway of silence pulsed one last time, a blinding flash of silvery light that enveloped the chest and the singing rock. Clara shielded her eyes, the sheer energy immense. When the light subsided, the outline of the obsidian chest was gone from within the rock. The spectral hands were gone. The humming from the singing rock was no longer a frantic drone, but a soft, lingering warmth. And then, a new light emerged from the very core of the singing rock. A brilliant, pure emerald green glow, pulsing with profound tranquility. It coalesced into a shimmering ethereal sphere of light, hovering gently above the rock, radiating a sense of immense peace and ancient wisdom. This was the stone heart, finally released, its true essence revealed. As the emerald light pulsed, a familiar figure slowly began to materialize from within the glow, solidifying into human form. It was Elias Bellwether, pale and disoriented, but undeniably real, clutching his map, his eyes slowly losing their distant look, replaced by a dawning comprehension. The ritual had worked. The Ghost Riders were vanquished, the stone heart released, and Elias, pulled back from the eternal ride, was finally returned, his spirit no longer bound to the terrifying silence of the Obsidian Trail. The emerald sphere of light, the liberated stone heart, pulsed with a profound tranquility above the singing rock, its radiant glow illuminating the pale, disoriented form of Elias Bellwether. Clara rushed to her brother, relief washing over her like a tidal wave. The ritual had worked. Elias was back, his eyes slowly regaining their warmth and focus, the blankness replaced by a dawning, bewildered awareness.
Clara?
What happened? I was riding with them. Elias stammered, his voice hoarse, his gaze flickering towards the now calm, singing rock. He remembered the spectral journey, the endless ride, but the terror seemed distant, like a half-forgotten dream. The Obsidian King and his Ghost Riders were utterly gone. The chilling hum of the obsidian had subsided, replaced by a deep, almost comforting resonance emanating from the now peaceful stone heart. The oppressive silence of the silent divide was lifted, allowing the subtle sounds of the mountain, the distant cry of a hawk, the rustle of dry brush, to return. The trail was no longer actively haunted. Clara explained everything: Blackwood's curse, the bound spirit, Elias's descent, and the ritual of release. Elias listened, his face a mixture of awe and disbelief. He looked at the emerald sphere, a strange reverence in his eyes. The stone heart, It was more than I ever imagined. Not a prisoner, but a guardian, angered by its violation. I thought I was charting energy, but I was merely mapping its torment. The stone heart, no longer confined, slowly began to ascend, drifting gently upwards, illuminating the path with its serene emerald glow. It passed silently through the towering obsidian formations, moving deeper into the mountain, dissolving into the very essence of the rock itself. It was returning to its rightful place, becoming once again the unseen, benevolent guardian of the Obsidian Trail. Clara and Elias made their way back to Shadow Creek. Old Flint McCoy, seeing Elias alive and hearing their account of the Stone Heart's release and the Ghost Rider's final vanishing, was filled with a quiet awe. "The mountain has found its peace," he rasped, tears welling in his ancient eyes. "The debt has been paid. The Ancient Ones, they finally rest." News of the events in the Obsidian Trail spread like wildfire through the scattered outposts of the West. While many remained skeptical, the tangible disappearance of the haunting phenomena, coupled with Elias's survival, gave weight to Clara's incredible tale. The Obsidian Trail, once synonymous with terror, became a place of mystery and wonder, its dark past now framed by a story of ancient magic and courageous release. Elias, though physically recovered, was profoundly changed. His obsession with scientific anomaly transformed into a deep, almost spiritual reverence for the natural world. He never again sought to exploit or dissect its mysteries, but rather to observe and appreciate its profound, intricate balance. He often spoke of the mountain's unseen heart, a constant, comforting presence he could now feel. Clara, too, carried the indelible mark of her journey. She continued her geological surveys, but with a newfound respect for the invisible forces that shaped the earth. She often returned to the silent divide, feeling the subtle, calming hum of the obsidian, listening to the soft echo of freedom that now permeated the pass. The chilling cold of the Ghost Riders was replaced by a gentle warmth, a sense of ancient peace. The obsidian shard, which had guided Clara, lost its luminescence after the Stone Heart's release. It became just a piece of rock, but one imbued with immense personal significance. She kept it, a tangible reminder of the impossible journey, the terrifying truths, and the ultimate triumph over a curse that had haunted the West for decades. The trail to nowhere now held an echo of freedom, a quiet testament to a terrifying past laid to rest, and the lasting power of balance restored. Decades passed. Shadow Creek, like many frontier outposts, slowly faded, its dusty streets reclaimed by the arid landscape. The Obsidian Trail, though still rugged and remote, was no longer actively feared. The terrifying legend of the Ghost Riders became a distant memory, a campfire tale for children, its sharp edges blunted by time. Yet, the mountain, as Alastair Finch had noted in a previous tale, holds its memory, and the enduring resonance of the Stone Heart remained. Elias Bellwether lived a long, quiet life, dedicated to cartography but infused with a profound, almost mystical understanding of the land. He mapped the unseen, tracing ley lines and energy currents he believed flowed through the earth, often returning to the Obsidian Trail not as a scientist, but as a pilgrim. He never explicitly spoke of the Ghost Riders again, but his maps of the Obsidian Trail were filled with intricate, swirling patterns, resembling the Ute glyphs, and annotated with cryptic references to harmonic nodes and spirit lines. He became a living testament to the powerful, transformative encounter with the supernatural. Clara Bellwether, his sister, became a renowned, albeit eccentric, geological consultant. Her early, controversial reports on the Obsidian Trail were eventually dismissed as sensationalism, but her later work, quietly bridging the gap between geological science and indigenous spiritual beliefs, garnered respect. She never fully shared the precise details of the unbinding ritual, ensuring the power of the Song of Release remained protected, known only to a trusted few she believed would honor its true intent. She understood that some knowledge, if misused, could reawaken dormant forces. The Obsidian Trail, though visually unchanged, carried a different energy. The unnerving silence of the Silent Divide was replaced by a profound, almost reverent stillness. Hikers and a few adventurous prospectors who dared its treacherous paths reported a peculiar sense of calm, an inexplicable feeling of rightness in the air, especially near the Singing Rock. Some claimed to feel a subtle, comforting vibration emanating from the obsidian, a low, gentle hum that brought a sense of peace rather than dread. This was the enduring resonance of the stone heart, now settled back into its role as the mountain's benevolent guardian. Its emerald glow was no longer visible, but its presence was felt, a quiet force of balance that permeated the obsidian. The remnants of Blackwood's malevolence had been purged, and the Ute shamans, their spirits finally at rest, no longer projected their tormented forms from the rock. The Obsidian Trail, once a prison of secrets, had become a sanctuary of equilibrium. The story of the ghost riders of the Obsidian Trail became a testament to the power of ancient lands, the consequences of disturbing sacred balance, and the profound journey of two siblings who ventured beyond the veil of reality to rescue a soul. It was a tale that demonstrated that sometimes the greatest scientific truths lie beyond the measurable, in the unseen forces that bind the natural and spiritual worlds. The trail no longer led to nowhere. It led to an understanding, a profound peace. As the years unfolded, Clara and Elias, shaped by their extraordinary experience, continued their work, their lives intertwined with the mountain's enduring spirit. They knew that the Obsidian Trail, in its quiet power, would forever stand as a monument to its complex history, a chilling reminder of a haunting overcome, and a testament to the profound, enduring resonance of the very earth beneath their feet. Today, the Obsidian Trail remains a rugged, starkly beautiful, and largely untouched wilderness. Time has smoothed the edges of its most terrifying legends, but not entirely erased them. The old mining camps and Shadow Creek are long gone, swallowed by the relentless advance of nature. The sharp black obsidian rocks still dominate the landscape, reflecting the sky like countless shattered mirrors. The legend of the ghost riders of the Obsidian Trail is now a captivating piece of Western folklore, told with a shiver and a sense of awe. Most dismiss it as a mere campfire story, but a few, those who truly understand the spirit of the mountains, know better. They speak of the trail not as cursed, but as sacred, a place that demanded justice and found it. Hikers and modern-day explorers occasionally venture into the trail's challenging terrain. Some report peculiar phenomena, a sudden, inexplicable feeling of peace in the Silent Divide, where the air seems to hum with a gentle, almost musical vibration, a subtle singing that resonates through the body. Others claim to see fleeting, shimmering heat hazes that dance briefly on the obsidian surfaces, resembling distant, indistinct riders, only to vanish when approached. These are not the terrifying apparitions of the past, but the veiled harmony of a restored balance. The ancient Singing Rock itself is a favored spot for quiet contemplation. Visitors often describe feeling a profound sense of tranquility there, a deep connection to the earth. Some even claim to feel a subtle, comforting warmth emanating from its cold black surface, a lingering echo of the stone heart's presence. The true nature of the stone heart remains a mystery. An elemental spirit, a geological consciousness, or simply an immense concentration of spiritual energy. What is certain is that its release brought peace to the Obsidian Trail. The curse of Caleb, the Obsidian King, Blackwood, was broken, his eternal ride ended, and the bound Ute shamans finally found their rest. The gold, the true cargo, the illicitly obtained artifacts, were never explicitly found or recovered, their material importance overshadowed by the spiritual debt that had been paid. Alastair and Clara Bellwether's scientific and spiritual legacy lived on through their descendants, who continued their work of quietly observing and documenting the subtle energies of the wild, always with profound respect. They understood that the world held depths beyond human comprehension, and that true wisdom lay in acknowledging the veil between the known and the unknown. The Obsidian Trail stands as a powerful testament to the intricate balance between human actions and ancient forces. It is a place where greed once caused a profound rupture in reality, creating a chilling haunting. But through courage, understanding, and respect for the natural world, that rupture was healed, and harmony was restored. The spectral thud of silent hooves has given way to the gentle hum of a peaceful mountain, forever guarding its mysteries in a state of veiled harmony.